their full potential. That is what he wanted everyone to awaken their relationship with Krishna. So he wrote the entire body of Vedic literatures, and he wrote it according to all the strict principles and everything. He followed all the religious principles himself, right? But yet, he was dissatisfied after compiling all the Vedic literature. I mean, huge. Can you imagine writing so many books with such deep meditation? And so that, every single person's heart can be somehow attracted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, like a masterpiece that you can't imagine writing, actually. We might write, like, do some homework, write one paper, do some research, right? And if we fail in that or we don't get good score on that, we get so dejected. Imagine writing after so much. He was dissatisfied. So he was thinking, why is it that I'm dissatisfied like this after doing everything properly? So then, just as he was thinking like this, because his inquiry was very, very sincere, so just as he was thinking like this, then Narad Muni appears. Narad Muni is Vyasadev's spiritual master. And this is actually a nice principle we can take for ourselves in our life, is that when we make a very sincere inquiry and we really want to find the root cause of it, not just some superficial understanding, but we really want to find the root cause, Krishna will also send some devotees in our life, give us some direction in our life. So Narad Muni comes, and then he actually appreciates Vyasadeva. You did all these things, and you did it with following all the religious principles and everything. You were firmly situated in your vow of truthfulness and so on. But yet you're dissatisfied. Why? Because he said you did not glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead very directly. Because in the Vedas, there is the glories of the Supreme. But then these glories are not direct. They're very covered. And why did he do that like that? Because Vyasadeva knew that most people, they just want to, have fun in life. They just want to, they just want sense enjoyment. They want this and they want that, and they're very attached to getting all these things. So he thought that if I can give them a way by which, okay, if you want this, then you worship this demigod. If you want that, then you worship that demigod, right? So much of the Vedic scriptures, like 90% of it is actually karmakanda. So karmakanda means, okay, you have this desire or that desire, okay, come worship this god or that god. And so he thought, at least if they come and worship some god and they follow some regulation, even though they're trying to fulfill their desire, but because they're at least accepting a higher authority, by that regulation, their consciousness will gradually get elevated. That was his reasoning. But the thing is, he didn't directly glorify. So Narad Muni said, if you don't directly glorify, you can never be happy, because the nature of the soul is to actually glorify the Supreme Lord. And nothing short of that makes the soul happy. And you can imagine, if a personality like Vyasadeva was not satisfied after all this, what about us? If we don't, live our life in a way of, really glorifying the Lord and keeping the Lord in the center of our lives, are we going to be happy? Not going to be happy. So then Narad Muni tells Vyasadeva that you please fix your mind and you haven't glorified. So then he tells you, please meditate. So then he fixes his mind perfectly, engaging it by linking it in devotional service or bhakti yoga, and without any tinge of materialism. And he does this, he goes into samadhi, and actually he sees the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he sees the Supreme Personality of Godhead in full, it's described. Meaning that he sees Krishna, and he sees also his energies, his external energy and his internal energy, everything. And he sees that the external energy or Maya or the illusory energy is hiding in the back, right? So he sees everything. And then he has some realizations, and he writes, 4 verses right after that. And they're very beautiful, so I want to share these. So he says, due to this external energy, or the illusory energy as we know it, the living entity, although transcendental to the 3 modes of material nature, thinks of himself as a material product and thus undergoes the reactions of material miseries. So we are actually, we're transcendental in nature, we're spiritual in nature, but then we think that we are matter. We all think we are this body. We all think that we are this mind, right? And so because of that, we're actually experiencing all the miseries. And then he describes all the miseries that we are experiencing. They're completely superfluous to us, superfluous to the living. Superfluous means that there's something external. They're not belonging to us at all. There's some superfluous means completely external. They're superfluous to him. And he also saw the remedy for it. What was the remedy? They can be directly mitigated by the linking process of devotional service. But the mass of people do not know this, and therefore, of course, Vyasadeva then compiled the Srimad Bhagavatam. In his mature realization, he compiled the Srimad Bhagavatam. And then he wrote that simply by giving oral reception to this Vedic literature, that means this Srimad Bhagavatam, the feeling for loving devotional service to Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, sprouts up at once to extinguish the fire of lamentation, illusion, and fearfulness. So some of us may say, oh, I don't have bhakti. You people have bhakti. Like when I go to India, some of my relatives tell me, oh, you have a lot of Sukriti, that's why you could start all this at a very young age. We don't have it. So we're not going to do. So I tell them, you can also get it. Just read Srimad Bhagavatam. Just by simply hearing Bhagavatam, even we don't have any bhakti. It says, bhaktir utpadyate pumsam shoka moha bhayapaha. Utpadyate means like it literally sprouts from our heart, bhakti. And when bhakti sprouts in the heart, what happens? Shoka moha bhaya. Lamentation, illusion, fearfulness, which is much of our lives, isn't it? We lament for what didn't happen in our lives in the past. We're afraid of or anxiety about the future, and we're in illusion about the present. We're not even present in the present. So all that can disappear. So that is how Vyasadeva wrote the Bhagavatam. Then Vyasadeva gave this knowledge to his son, Sukadeva Goswami. This is another amazing story. So Sukadeva Goswami, just go into the story a little bit. Sukadeva Goswami, he was a completely self-realized person while he was even in the womb. Okay, so here he is. This is Sukadeva Goswami's mommy here carrying him. And Sukadeva Goswami was in his mommy's womb for like 16 years. He didn't want to come out of the womb. Why? Because he thought, if I come out, I'm going to get entangled in all the material energy. And I don't want to get entangled. He was completely realized, he was like liberated. And he didn't have any attraction for anything material even before he was born, right? But then imagine carrying a baby for 16 years. His wife was getting fried. They said, do something. So then, he goes to Krishna and he says, well, please do something. He's not coming out. So then Krishna personally comes, as you can see in this picture, Vyasadeva brings Krishna. And Krishna personally comes and talks to Sukadeva Goswami in the womb and says, hey, come out. I promise you that you will not get entangled by the material energy. Just come out. And so finally he comes out, but as soon as he comes out, he starts walking away. Right? He was 16 years old, so he could walk. He starts walking away. And his father Vyasadeva calls, oh son, please come back. And as he's calling out, only, he can hear the echo of the trees. His son is actually not even turning back because he's afraid that now my parents are going to pet me and they would want me to go to school and get married, and I don't want to deal with all this, so I'm not coming back. He doesn't even look back. So, but Vyasadeva is thinking, I want to give him this Srimad Bhagavatam, this most precious knowledge. So then he sends some of his disciples to find Sukadeva Goswami. So then these disciples, they're kind of going along in the forest and they're chanting some verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam. They chant, the 3 particular verses are described. One verse that they chant is describing the beauty of Krishna. All the different parts of Krishna are described, his beautiful peacock feather, his garland, and his hair and everything. We could sing that verse, but we don't have time. And there's another verse which describes the mercy of Krishna. It's actually describing the mercy of Krishna to Putana. Putana was a demon, and she wanted to kill Krishna, as we know. But Krishna actually gave her the same position as he gave to Mother Yashoda. Why? Because she just tried to do a little service, just that intent of giving him some milk. And so Krishna accepted that little gesture and just, gave her this topmost position. So there's a nice verse in the 3rd canto, Aho Bhakyam Stanakala Kutam, which is describing, just the mercy of Krishna and saying that, who is there more merciful? Kamva Dayalam Sharanam Rajema. It's describing that who is there who is more merciful than Krishna, and why would we want to worship anyone else but him? So these 2 verses they chanted, and then one more verse, it's from Lord Brahma's prayers, which is also describing the beautiful form of Krishna. And Sukadeva Goswami happens to hear these verses, and immediately he gets attracted to these verses. So here is a person who was not attracted to anything of the material world. But as soon as he hears these verses, he gets attracted. So what does that tell us? That tells us actually that Srimad Bhagavatam is nothing to do with anything material. It's completely transcendental. But it could attract a person who was already liberated too. So which also tells us that there is something beyond liberation. And what is that something beyond liberation? Because people talk about liberation or mukti. But real mukti is not just, neutrality or just freedom from misery or something. But real mukti, there's a nice verse in the 2nd canto which describes muktir hitvayanta rupam swarupena vyavastiti, which is saying that real mukti is to be situated in one's constitutional position. So that's why he got attracted. And then he goes to his disciples and asks, hey, where are these verses from? And they say, well, this is, from the Srimad Bhagavatam, and Vyasadeva taught us. So then he says, can you, then he comes back to Vyasadeva, and here is Sukadeva Goswami now sitting here. You can't see the pointer on the TV, I guess. Won't work. Anyway, you can see Sukadeva Goswami is there in blue, and then Vyasadeva actually teaches him the whole Bhagavatam after that. Then, after this, Srimad Bhagavatam was then spoken by Sukadeva Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit. Another amazing story, right? So Maharaj Parikshit, he was the emperor of the whole world. And, at that time, emperors were very caring. So one time he goes out to the kingdom to make sure everything is all right. And he feels very thirsty. And when he feels very thirsty, he enters one hermitage of a sage, and the sage is actually in trance, and he doesn't receive Maharaj Parikshit. And Maharaj Parikshit, quite out of his character, he gets upset, he gets angry, and he takes a dead snake from nearby and he just garlands it. And then Maharaj Parikshit leaves. But as soon as he leaves, Maharaj Parikshit actually realizes, uh-oh, what did I do? And this is the quality of a good soul. We may do something in a moment of whatever, anger or frustration, but the quality of a good soul is that he will immediately recognize and regret it. So this sage Shamika Rishi, he then comes out of his trance and he sees the dead snake and he looks at it and he just removes it and just puts it on the side, just like as a matter of fact, okay, there's a dead snake, just put it on the side. He doesn't make a big deal out of it. But then he had a son named Shringi, who was a Brahmana, because he was the son of Shamika Rishi, but then he didn't have the qualities of a Brahmana. So he actually gets upset and he decides to curse Maharaj Parikshit, saying that you're going to be bitten by a snake bird in 7 days. So he curses, and then Maharaj Parikshit, he's such an extraordinary soul, very, very devoted. He had the capacity to neutralize this curse if he wanted to, but he doesn't do it. He just accepts it. He feels that this is, what I deserve for offending a nice Vaishnava who was actually in meditation. So he just accepts the curse. So then he goes around and he asks everyone, okay, what is the duty of a person who's about to die? And what is the duty of people in general, of humanity in general? So he asks many sages, and many sages give him different answers, and these sages are also arguing amongst each other. That's what happens. But then finally, while all this argument is going on, just out of his own accord, Sukadeva Goswami kind of walks in there. And Sukadeva Goswami, we heard what was his spiritual stature. And just by his spiritual stature, just like, some great personality walks in, there's an aura about them, right? And so everyone just offered obeisances as soon as he came in, and they offered him the seat, the Vyasasana, and he said, you speak, you answer now. So Sukadeva Goswami said that actually the subject matter that should be heard by everyone in general is Srimad Bhagavatam, and even one who's soon to die, you should hear the Srimad Bhagavatam. And he speaks the Srimad Bhagavatam in 7 days, and Maharaj Parikshit hears it, and after 7 days he says that now I have no fear of anything, the snake bird can come and bite me and I'm completely ready. I'm just fixed on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is what it can do for us also. And then later, again, Suta Goswami spoke Srimad Bhagavatam to the sages of Naimisharanya. So there were these sages, Naimisharanya is a forest. So these sages assembled in Naimisharanya, and they were doing a sacrifice for the benefit of all of us in this age of Kali. And they were doing this sacrifice, but then they realized that until Suta Goswami came, because Suta Goswami came after some time and then he started speaking Srimad Bhagavatam, so they tell Suta Goswami that until you came, the only benefit we got from doing the sacrifice was that our faces were getting black. Other than that, we were not really getting any benefit, Our faces were getting black from all the smoke. But now we're getting the, real benefit of doing this sacrifice. So they actually heard the Srimad Bhagavatam like for 1,000 years, They discussed it. So you can hear, even the history of Srimad Bhagavatam is so rich. Each story, can be discussed for hours actually. We're just like touching, just a little bit. Now just a little bit about the subject matter of Srimad Bhagavatam. Just from the stories, we've already understood a little bit about it. But here is something from the second verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. I'm wondering whether I should read it or I should just say it, paraphrase it. So this is describing the subject matter, and it's saying that basically that it has nothing to do with anything material, completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated. This Bhagavad Purana propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. And it says towards the end of the verse that there is no need. It says that there is no need for any other scripture if we have this one scripture. Then here's another verse which is describing again how this Bhagavatam is Amala Purana. We spoke about this earlier. It's a spotless Purana because it has nothing, again, material in it. It reveals the means for becoming free from all material work together with the processes of transcendental knowledge, renunciation and devotion. Anyone who seriously tries to understand Srimad Bhagavatam, who properly hears and chants it with devotion, becomes completely liberated. Here is also a verse which is describing how it is the mature fruit of all the Vedic literatures. Right? The real purpose, the Vedas are sometimes described as a tree or a desire tree. Whatever you want, you can get from, this tree. But the real purpose of a tree is, really the fruits. And we don't want just the raw fruits. We want the real, juicy, nice, mature fruits. And this fruit of Bhagavatam is so special that not only it's mature, but it's been further tasted by Sukadeva Goswami. Just like in India, sometimes, like we get mangoes or different fruits. If it has been like touched by birds, right? The beak of the bird, they go with with their beak like that. And it softens, the mango. So it's all the more juicy, isn't it? So Sukadeva Goswami is such a realized person that he has made this fruit even more tastier for us because it's packed with his own realizations. And even our acharyas describe even further of how this fruit doesn't even have a skin and doesn't even have a seed, and it is semi-solid. You just have to just relish it and gulp it down, literally. Such a tasty fruit. And really, you pick up Bhagavatam anywhere and you read it, it's just so tasty. Just keep reading it for 10-15 minutes and you will get touched by it. It's not possible that you're not going to be touched by its message. Here's another beautiful verse describing how it's the essence of all Vedanta philosophy because its subject matter is the absolute truth, which while not different from the spirit soul is the ultimate reality, one without a second. The goal of this literature is exclusive devotional service unto that supreme truth. So there's verses and verses and verses. Srimad Bhagavatam is declared to be the essence of all Vedanta philosophy. One who has felt satisfaction from its nectarian mellow will never be attracted to any other literature, and this is a fact. Once you've tasted, the taste of Bhagavatam reading, you don't really get taste from too many other books. So the position of Srimad Bhagavatam is also glorified in other Puranas. So in the Garuda Purana, it is said that it's the most perfect Purana. It's the natural commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. So it's not only Bhagavatam speaking about itself, but all the other different Shastras are also pointing to the Bhagavatam. And I won't read the whole thing, but it's describing how it has 12 cantos and hundreds of chapters and 18,000 verses. Here is a verse from the Skanda Purana, Vishnu Kanda. It says that in Kali Yuga, what's the value of collecting, so many other books or other scriptures? If you have a Srimad Bhagavatam at home, you don't need anything else. Then it says, wherever Srimad Bhagavatam is present in Kali Yuga, there the Supreme Lord goes along with the demigods. Then here's another beautiful verse. Just as the Ganga is the greatest of all rivers, Lord Achyuta, the supreme among deities, and Lord Shambhu, the greatest of Vaishnavas, so Srimad Bhagavatam is the greatest of all Puranas. So in fact, Srimad Bhagavatam is Krishna himself. So this is a description, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but just for you to know that this is coming directly from Padma Purana. So in the Padma Purana, it's described actually that each of these cantos are like the different limbs of Krishna. So the first two cantos are like the lotus feet of Krishna. The third and fourth cantos are like Krishna's thighs. The fifth canto is like his navel, and the sixth like his chest, and then the seventh and eighth are like his arms, and the 10th canto is like his beautiful face, and that's where you have all of Krishna's pastimes. The 11th canto is like Krishna's forehead, so 11th canto is actually a lot of philosophy there. That's where Krishna thinks, right in the forehead, so there's a lot of philosophy. And the 12th canto is the crown. So what are the benefits of Srimad Bhagavatam? Some benefits. So Srimad Bhagavatam has all that any good book can possibly have and more, right? And this is not an exaggeration. We are not trying to just advertise. Please don't take it like that. It has all these things and more. Adventure, intrigue, struggle, romance, drama, valor, mystery, knowledge, humor, beauty, enlightenment, healing, nourishment, devotion. These are some of the reasons for which people read different kinds of books, right? Maybe people read also for astronomy and, astrology and geography, whatever. Even that is there in the Bhagavatam. There's not a thing that's not there, actually. And I just want to speak about just a little bit, couple of things, is that nourishment and healing. Nourishment is something, I like the word nourishment. Nourishment is something that really gives us life. We say that food nourishes us, right? It gives us life. But, we're all the souls, and there's something that the soul needs. The soul needs nourishment. And this nourishment you can get just by reading Bhagavatam for even just 15-20 minutes each day. You will feel this life in your life when you read Bhagavatam every day. And it has such an amazing way of just completely just changing your worldview, your perspective of things, how you see everything. You will actually have an answer for everything of why this is happening, why that is happening, why there's so many religions, why do people behave this way and that way, and just everything. You'll understand what is the relationship of everything to God, and then what is the process of connecting everything to God, and ultimately, of course, attaining God. And it also has a very wonderful way of healing our hearts. Most of our hearts, especially in Kali Yuga, they're much wounded. We haven't had, a perfect life. None of us have had a perfect life. Krishna is one person who's had a perfect life. But none of us, even Krishna didn't have a perfect life in one sense, but of course he's beyond all that. But we haven't had a perfect life. We have many traumas, we have many wounds. And many of these traumas and wounds, we have learned to kind of live with them, kind of push them behind somewhere, and we just distract ourselves. We try to put a strong front, and we keep going on in life. But actually, when you read Bhagavatam regularly, you will find that it will heal your heart. It will reach into all those different recesses of your heart that you never knew even existed. Things that you never even thought that were there. It will address all those things. So that's just certainly has been my experience. And it just has a way of taking you from one level to the next level to the next level. So Bhagavatam is not so much arranged chronologically in terms of its stories, but there is a chronology in terms of lifting our consciousness from one place to the next higher place and the next higher place and so on. So other benefits, purification of heart. This is a beautiful verse. Everyone pay attention. One who faithfully hears or induces others to hear one verse or half a verse or a phrase or even a word for some time or even a moment without deviation is capable of purifying oneself. And I think we all have a few moments in our life that we can spare. Nobody can say we don't have a few moments. to pick up the Bhagavatam and just read a few moments. Why not? We take time for so many other things. Why not even do it as an experiment, if not anything? We can't lose. We'll gain some knowledge, but there's nothing that you lose. Here are some verses further speaking about purification of heart. So this is speaking about how if we can just simply, if some attraction for hearing Bhagavatam awakens within us, right? Then Krishna, almost like, I don't like to use the word janitor, but Krishna really, he sits in our heart and he cleans our heart up, basically. That's what this verse is describing. And then when we do that regularly, all that is troublesome to the heart is completely removed. Here is another nice verse of how Krishna manifests within the heart. Persons who hear Srimad Bhagavatam regularly and are always taking the matter very seriously will have the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna manifested in their hearts within a short time. And this Srimad Bhagavatam is like a magnet, it attracts iron. So Srimad Bhagavatam actually attracts good fortune into your life. So here is a verse which is supporting that. Any literature or narration in which the Supreme is described and glorified is certainly great, pure, glorious, auspicious, and all good. So even just having Bhagavatam in your house, on your bookshelf, is very auspicious. But it's more auspicious if you pick it up and read it, You don't want to leave it as it is. And it's actually like a deity of Lord Krishna. Just by taking care of it, even dusting it, dusting the books, you actually get pious credits just for even doing that. Because it's like a deity of Krishna, you get spiritual benefit. And having Bhagavatam in your house, it's like having all these amazing personalities which are described in the Bhagavatam. It's like having all of them at your home. They're right there, you can consult them anytime. You can seek their guidance, you can offer prayers to them. And, the Supreme Lord Himself is there all the time in your house, so what's the fear? And it's also non-different from the spiritual world. So you're actually bringing the whole spiritual world home just by having the Bhagavatam. Your house becomes a place of pilgrimage even. And there's a bunch of children sitting here. So children benefit tremendously. So one of the things as parents we always worry about is how to give values to our children, right? We teach them, don't do this, do that, don't, and the kids are like, yeah, mom, dad, and they may do it sometimes in front of us, but oftentimes we do worry, what will happen when they go to college? Are these values going to stay with them? Or are they going to succumb to peer pressure? But actually Bhagavatam, if children hear Bhagavatam from an early age, they develop very, very strong moral values. And it's hard to explain how just reading a book can do that, because there are other books which teach us moral stories and so on. And we do read such stories to children, right? To teach them moral values. But this book really is something very, and you may think I'm just saying this because I love this book so much. No, it's really the truth. We've seen this time and again. Those children who read Bhagavatam from a young age, they are able to withstand all kinds of pressures. And they don't yield to things. And because they're receiving this from these wonderful personalities. So there's such potency in the Bhagavatam. And of course, children love the stories. Here's children, doing activities based on Bhagavatam stories, learning verses, reciting and memorizing prayers from Bhagavatam saves one from the greatest dangers of life, in this life, future lives. So here is Gajendra. I think everyone knows the Gajendra story. He was King Indradyumna in his previous life, and we won't go into the story, but he became an elephant in his next life. But because, he did devotional service in his previous lives, so when this crocodile was chomping on its leg, he remembered these prayers and he recited them. He offered prayers and Lord Vishnu came right away. And then just some appreciation by some professors here. This is a work to be treasured. No one of whatever faith or philosophical persuasion who reads these books with an open mind can fail to be both moved and impressed. This is from Columbia University. It has been my great pleasure recently to have read the Srimad Bhagavatam in the superb edition authorized by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. I'm sure this monumental work will go far to bring the sublime message of the Bhagavatam to numerous Westerners who otherwise would miss this opportunity. I have a couple more, but maybe, I think y'all get the point. I'll skip. Maybe we'll read this one. It is axiomatic that no book can be expected entirely to satisfy all its potential readers. Here is one, however, which can be said to come remarkably close to that ideal. We have here the ideal of what an edition of a Sanskrit text for a Western audience should be. And finally, I want to end with this verse. This is a verse also from the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is describing the benefit of giving Srimad Bhagavatam as a gift. If on the full moon day of the month of Bhadra, one places Srimad Bhagavatam on a golden throne and gives it as a gift, he will attain the supreme transcendental destination. And this particular full moon day is coming up this month, right? September? Yeah, today is September 1st. So this month on 24th is this particular full moon day, which is called the Bhadra Purnima. So we can give this ultimate gift, this Bhadra Purnima, to someone that we know and attain the supreme transcendental destination. And so we're doing also this Bhadra campaign. Of course, that's not just the main reason for me to be here. I always feel a bit embarrassed, to speak, for a campaign or something, because I never want people to think that, oh, I'm just here to collect money or something. I'm, not at all. Not at all. Bhagavatam stands for its own merit. But the purpose I'm really sharing this is because we want everyone to take advantage of this wonderful day that is soon coming. It comes, only once a year. And we're also, because we want everyone to take advantage of this wonderful day, we are just giving away Bhagavatam at cost price with actually zero margin, actually a little negative margin, I would say, for the temple. But we got a couple of sponsors, so we're able to do this, and we're also offering a nice golden book stand. Of course, that verse said golden throne, but we cannot really afford real golden thrones in Kali Yuga. So and a real throne for a book is a book stand. So we've got a golden book stand which will be useful for you. It's not real gold, but Krishna accepts our intent. We can show you the golden book stands in the car. Maybe you can get one. And we have a program in the temple on that day. It's on a Monday, so 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. So those of you who are able to come, you can actually come that day and gift to each other. Those who cannot come, you can take a Bhagavatam set today from us and you can gift it to your loved ones. You can give, a husband can gift their wife, or wife can gift their husband if you don't have a Bhagavatam set at home at all. And if you already have a Bhagavatam set at home, gift it to someone. It's only $175, which is like nothing actually. For 18 volumes, it's hardly not even $10. There's nice pictures and everything in the book. We spend so much on so many things, so this is like just it's priceless, really. And also, it's part of a bigger project called Gomatsya. Gomatsya project is a global effort actually to save and preserve this Vedic literature, and through mass distribution and education. So you all are from India here, and you know the value of these Vedic scriptures. And, so we expect actually Indians to play a key role to share and preserve this Vedic knowledge so it doesn't get lost and actually benefit many, many people across the world. And you can participate in 3 ways. You can advocate, you can become an advocate for it, you can become a distributor, or you can become an organizer for it even. And I'll end with this 2-minute video here.